Do you play basketball, volleyball? Maybe you play tennis? Oh, you must be a model.
My ex-boyfriend used to be 1 meter 65. The only cons was when you see their clothes, and they are so small.
I knew a guy who was 20 centimeters taller than me, so he was about 2 meters and 10 centimeters. And when I looked up at him, I thought, is this how everyone looks up at me from below?
Were you taller than others since childhood?
I have kindergarten photos where I'm standing next to a boy, and I'm already taller than him. In school, I was always the first among the girls, and taller than the tallest boy.
I wasn't even the tallest. In physical education, I think I stood third.
My friends were always shorter than me in school. I was taller than everyone, taller than the boys.
I always sat at the back of the class, but as a good student, I dreamed of sitting in the front. Since first grade, I dreamed of my legs dangling.
Do you have a complex about your height?
It's hard to come to terms with being different, so you develop complexes. As a child, when I met someone online, I would tell them after just a few messages, "You should know, I'm this tall," and usually they'd be like, "No way, I don't believe you." And I'd say, "Yes, it's true," just like that. Just like
I was called names like beanpole, giraffe, and so on. As a teenager, it really hurt me. I was afraid of being looked at, but it's all more about self-esteem.
I sometimes catch myself slouching, especially when I'm around people shorter than me, so you're always looking down at them. And it turns out, I don't know, instinctively my shoulders still hunch forward.
I just grew up and realized that this is me. And my family is tall, half of them. My dad, my brother is tall. My mom is 165. My mom used to call me beanpole.
What difficulties do you face?
Consider a simple walk down the street with a friend or relative. Every time I hear requests to slow down because with long legs my pace is very high.
Tables, chairs are made for people who are 165. At the hairdresser, yes, they lower the chair, lower and lower. Pressing down, pressing, lowering it more and more. And I'm like, okay, and sit with my legs stretched out.
I only wanted to wear heels once for my graduation, but I was 17 then and very embarrassed about being taller than the principal. Later I regretted it, walking around the apartment in heels. I thought, why didn't I wear them? And I've never worn them.
There's a problem with sleeves, for example, in women's shirts. The sleeves are always too short for me. I mostly buy men's because the sleeves are long.
I no longer dream of finding sleeved clothes that fit me. I just buy them and do this.
All the jeans I pick are always too short. I understand it's fashionable now, but in general, for example, it's not very pleasant to walk in short jeans in winter.
And of course, shoes, because tall girls usually have large feet. So finding shoes is also a challenge. I wear European size 42.
Hello, could you please show me if you have sizes 41 or 42? I don't even look at the stylish models, because I know the largest size there would be 39. And often what's interesting, these larger sizes, 41, 42, they're just really unattractively designed. Or they have some unrealistically high heels like 12 centimeters. I mean, if you're tall and already have big feet, why add another 12 centimeters?
The most upsetting story of my life is related to my prom because I couldn't find a boy to dance the waltz with. All of them were short and the tall boys were quickly taken, so I was left without a partner and didn't get to dance the waltz. It was very upsetting.
In public transport, especially if you're traveling to an unfamiliar place, you need to see where you're going, where to get off. So you're sitting there and then some old lady complains, "Look at her, young and sitting, but I don't know where I'm going. I need to see where I'm going. Just a couple more stops and I'll get off."
That's why I don't like bus tours. For example, even traveling somewhere in Europe, because it's always such torture, these overnight trips. And there I see these girls, 160, she just sits down, folds her knees, wraps her arms around herself, and that's it. She's already asleep.
No, I haven't traveled by bus somewhere far away, maybe by minibus. I didn't notice any discomfort because my whole life is uncomfortable.
I try to exit the subway and bump my head on the door. Or when I stand up and accidentally don't notice the handrails above me and I hit them too. It looks very awkward from the outside and I feel embarrassed.
Sometimes you just want someone taller to hug you. The only thing missing in height is to be hugged from behind. To feel it, not like this, with arms hugging from below, but above, touching the shoulders.
Do people ask you silly questions?
Do your parents happen to be tall too? How tall is your mom and your dad? And how tall are you exactly? You mean 187 centimeters? I thought you were around 195. Do you play basketball? Volleyball? Maybe you play tennis? Oh, you must be a model. You mean you don't do anything? You're not a model? How come? Why not? Aren't you interested in sports?
You're a basketball player? As if that's why I'm so tall.
Listen, with your height, it must be hard to find a guy, right?
What did you eat as a child? Carrots, right?
How do people around you react to your height?
It's funny when I'm walking and some kid with their mom goes by and they whisper, "Oh, look at that tall lady. Mom, why is she so tall?" I also wonder, why am I so tall?
Sometimes people glance over, "Look at that tall girl walking by," something like that. But there were no direct insults like, "You're tall, you're ugly."
Mistaken for a guy from behind in a winter coat wearing a hat. They say, "Young man, please get off." Then I turn around. I understand their reaction. Of course, I'm tall, and the lady starts apologizing.
I knew a guy who was 20 centimeters taller than me, so he was about 2 meters and 10 centimeters. And when I looked up at him, I thought, is this how everyone looks up at me from below? Because it's very unusual for me. Like, if I'm with my shorter friends, I walk with them and look down at them like this, from above.
I don't notice it anymore. I don't really care. But when I'm walking with friends or family, they notice how people look at me from behind. Just like this, with such eyes. And then they tell me, they were looking at you like that. But I don't notice it anymore.
Recently, my friends and I went to a concert. And since my favorite band, one of my favorites, was performing, we had to get a bit closer to the stage. So there was this open space. We squeezed in there and stood for about 10 minutes. Then I hear, "Hey, you!" And someone taps me on the shoulder. "You came and stood here. Now I can't see behind you." I turn around and say, "Well, maybe you should chop off my legs then." If there are people who express their negativity, you just have to understand that they're not worth your time. Because judging a person based on physical characteristics is not the best way to handle a situation.
Does your height affect your dating life?
My ex-boyfriend used to be 1 meter 65. The only cons was when you see their clothes and they are so small. Oh my God, you think, well, now I have another boyfriend. He's 1 meter 85. We can finally exchange t-shirts, finally exchange other clothes.
On social networks, for example, I mention my height just in case. But overall, I have a boyfriend and he's a couple of centimeters shorter than me. It never bothered me at all. It was just a surprise for him at our first meeting. He got used to it. So I don't pay attention to the guy's height at all. The main thing is that he's over 170.
My brain probably is tuned to look for tall guys. I fell in love with every tall guy I saw at school. There was a time when I didn't even see his face, but I just saw that he was tall, and that's it. I fell in love with him. But then, when he turned around at school one day, all my infatuation went away. But eventually I grew up and realized that it's not that important. Now I have a boyfriend who is just a little bit shorter than me, and we are both happy with that. So it's not a problem.
Sometimes I think that guys who are not very tall, like 170, 175, they like girls who are 10 centimeters taller than them. And actually, this sometimes surprises me. But there's the opposite situation, where tall guys seem to like short girls. I don't know why this is comfortable, because it seems to me more convenient when you are the same height. I always think, my God, he has to bend in 3 places to kiss her. Because it's terribly uncomfortable, so it's definitely more comfortable when you are the same height.
What are the advantages of being tall?
You gain 2 kilograms, they spread out, nothing noticeable. And if we gather somewhere in a crowd, of course, friends orient themselves by me.
I'm always visible from afar. When my friends might lose me, I can't find them because they are 1.60 meters. But they always find me. Another plus is that in a crowd of people, I always have something to breathe because, well, there's more oxygen.
You always attract attention. Well, that's the main plus I've noticed.
Actually, sometimes when I'm in a bad mood and want to listen to music, I walk down the street and my height gives me this advantage that I just look into the distance and basically I, so to speak, don't see anyone below. They are somewhere down there, I don't see them, and I walk by myself.
Your advice for tall girls who worry about their height.
As cliché as it sounds, but to love yourself, because actually your attitude towards yourself affects how other people treat you.
Find yourself a friend or friends of your height. It really actually helps.
It helps. Yes, I hadn't thought about it, but it helps. Tip of the day. Don't worry, being tall is good. You breathe fresh air. God, that's not the problem. There are global problems to think about, to spend your nerves on. I think the last thing I will obsess over is myself. It's good.
I would advise not to bend your knees in group photos with people who are not as tall, because it's actually noticeable if the photo is full length. It's like your unique feature, so to speak. So why worry about it? Why feel complex about it?